Welcome everybody. It's Ted Prodromou. It's Epic Encore time. And I'm with my friend here too, Michael Delon, who is an expert author or helps you create your book. You're an expert
I,
author, of course.
of course.
And we met a few years ago through our friend Tom Ruwich.
Yes.
He says
He's
you
still
need
our
to
friend
meet this
too.
guy. So,
He's still our friend.
yes, even though he says all those things about us, but
That's right. That's
that's a
right.
whole nother show we can talk about. So kind of tell us what you do and how you got into this. Like you said, you sent somebody a book with a resume and you got a job.
Well, I did. So let me go back just a little bit further. So I was stuck in prison for 2 years, Ted, and that was in a corporate prison. So I was at a family ministry, a worldwide ministry. I was on the leadership team. They went through corporate reorganizations, right? Third reorganization chart got rolled out. My name was no longer on the leadership team. So they shuffled me around the ministry to do all kinds of stuff. And that was a 2 year prison term, as I put it. Job I hated, a ministry I loved, wasn't using my abilities. I finally said, I got to get out of this place. So God let me escape from prison, started a marketing consulting firm, and nobody would hire me because they saw me as a ministry guy versus a marketing guy. And so I had to fix that. So that's when I wrote my first book on marketing, and I'd mail it to a prospect, right? And they'd read it. And when I walked in the door a week later, they hired me because they saw me as a marketing expert. And that's how I started creating our company, Paperback Experts. And what we do is we help business owners and leaders and experts and people create a book without writing a word and use their book to gain clients. But what happened, Ted, is about 3 years into my business, I thought I needed some marketing help. So we hired a marketing consultant, paid him lots of money. He told us to do lots of advertising. I did that, and it wasn't working as fast as I needed it. And so I created a spreadsheet. You'll love it. It was called the Paperback Expert Go Broke Date Spreadsheet. And I thought, well, I got to know my runway. And I thought my runway was going to be like 8 or 9 months. Well, no, it was like 3.
Yeah.
And so I had to get rid of the biggest expense on my payroll, which was me. So I laid myself off. And I thought, I gotta go find a job. How do I do that? And so I created a really fun resume. But then I realized I had a book and I was going to go for a marketing job. And so I put my book and my resume together and I mailed it to a couple people. And buddy, believe it or not, I got an interview within about a week and got the job because of my book. He's like, dude, you're the only guy who sent me a book. In fact, you're about the only resume I read because of your book.
Yeah.
And I thought, it works. So that was my how to get a job with your book story, as well, because it just puts you at the front of the line. As you know, when you write a book and you give it to somebody, it captures their attention, and it makes you more than a commodity.
Yeah. And I've talked to a lot of people and they think, well, I don't have anything to share in a book. And I do free LinkedIn profile makeovers for veterans.
Yeah,
And they're in they're in the putting people in war. They're leading people into war, putting
yeah.
their life on line every day and say, well, I have nothing to share. I have 25 years of living in this army bubble. What do I do?
Tell
And it's like,
stories.
this one guy told me a story, Cedric Crumbly. He was a recruiter. He was the worst recruiter in Army history. He said, I convinced people not to sign up. And they
Yeah.
made fun of him so much that he tried to kill himself driving through red lights on the way home.
Wow.
And he started listening to Zig Ziglar tapes and he turned his life around and became the best Army recruiter. I said, Cedric, write a book.
Yeah. That's
And he
it.
wrote a book that the Army uses for training recruiters now.
Is it? Oh, how cool. See, but I think you just hit it. There is everybody has stories and life experiences that I think to us they seem mundane.
Yeah,
But when we share them, people outside of our world go, really? Tell me more.
right.
And it's really just a matter, I mean, everybody listening to us has stories to tell. It's just a matter of it, bringing them out and sharing them, and people are going to resonate. They're going to connect with you because they like you and they want to hear more. That's how you get business. That's how you build an audience. That's how you get jobs, is telling stories,
Right.
and they're inside of you waiting to come out.
We all
Uh,
have unique experiences. Like there's no carbon copy life.
we do, and here's what I tell people, and everybody listening: um, people buy who you are more than what you do. Because there are always lots of coaches, lots of whatevers, but there's only one you, Ted.
Yeah.
And so that's why your story is so important. I trust that you're a LinkedIn expert, Ted. I mean, I've read the books but do you know how many LinkedIn experts there are out there? If I'm looking for LinkedIn expertise, I'll go to Google. I can
Right.
figure it out. I don't want to. I want somebody I can trust to help me take those steps. That's the really important part of sharing your story and letting people get to know who you are. That changes the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we do business with each other. It's person to person. It's not bot to bot.
It is.
So we're getting closer to the bot to bot, but
Yeah, I don't know.
this is an AI generated person you're talking to right now,
That's
aren't
right.
you?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, Lord hates the day. Yeah, it is. It's very personal. Everything that we do, and it should be, right? And there are places for bots and AI and all that stuff. There's places for that.
Yeah.
But not here. A bot's never going to have your wisdom. It might have your knowledge. It
Right.
won't have your wisdom.
Yeah. And it's just connecting with people and letting them get to know you. That's why when I teach LinkedIn to people, it's like it's not about getting a sale, it's about building a relationship. You'll get
100%.
business from them for 20 years.
Oh, and the people they know. I get referrals. My son Caleb is doing a lot of LinkedIn relationship building and services, and he's getting referrals from people and referrals from people who don't even do business with him. They're getting referrals because he shows up as a human,
Right.
right? It's not AI, it's HI, right? Human interaction.
Right.
And when you show up just being you and being here's what I found. Just be interested in what they're doing. I'll go to people's LinkedIn profiles or their stories and I'll read the story, but I'm looking for the little nugget. Like, oh, I spent the weekend with my daughter on the lake, and when we were there, we did this. I'm like, really, tell me about that fun time tell me about that daddy-daughter date. I
Right.
love it with my girls.
Right.
That starts a conversation, and somewhere down the road, we'll talk about business, but I'm more interested in you.
Yeah. So we're in the grandparent stage right now. So we run into other grandparents like, isn't it the best job ever? And we have an
Amen,
instant
brother.
connection.
It is, and that's what people want to talk about. I mean, I always say, well, it's like if I went to, if I met you at your granddaughter's birthday party, do you want me to say, "Hey, Ted, I'm a book publisher for business owners, and we could do that," or do you just want me to hang out and talk about? Tell me about your grandchild. What are they
Right.
doing? Where are they? You'll talk all day long about that, and
Yeah.
we'll leave that conversation. And you'll say, "I really like that Michael guy. He's just a great conversationalist." I just asked a couple questions, let you talk. LinkedIn's the same thing. It's a relationship, right?
Right. And when you write your book, then you just share your story.
100%. It's not that hard. And whether you use our company or whether you do it yourself, it's really just talking and
Right.
getting people to extract your stories. I mean, it needs to be well written, obviously, but it's talking about your 30, 40 years in business. What do you bring to the table for that? Do you know how
Right.
valuable that is? And when you bring your expertise and you tell stories of how you've helped people, how you've grown companies, and that you're still longing to do it more.
Right.
You mentioned Zig Ziglar. I don't know how old he was when he stopped speaking, but I think he was older than 62.
Yeah.
That dude went for a long time, and I think a lot of us still have it into us. I don't know who said that at 65 you have to retire. I'm like, I
Right.
don't like that word. I want to keep going because we can do a lot for years and bring people with us and give our wisdom, our counsel, our thoughts. But that all happens through connections like this and relationships.
So take me through the process. Say I come to you and I've kind of gone through the sales process with a lot of people that help you write your books, even though I've written 4 books myself.
Right.
But they did
Yeah.
take you through the formula. Answer this questionnaire, answer these 10 questions, and
Yeah.
then we'll do a call. And then they're just no personality, but you are authentic. You are really do care about what I'm saying to you.
I do. Well, I hope so. Thank you for that. Yeah, our whole process is getting on a call like this and understanding your story because I know that is the most important thing, right? And once we get your story, we create the title and theme of your book. And just like the red light, green light guy that you were talking about earlier, right? And I could just I see the title, running on red or something like that. And people are like, what? Well, it tells the story.
Yeah.
And then once we have the theme, one of our writers, we have professional writers, okay, human professional writers. They come on a Zoom call and they just start talking with you about what you do. And
Hmm.
together you're going to have a conversation, 3 or 4 conversations, about an hour long each, to build the outline for your book, chapter by chapter, stories, points you want to make, anecdotes. And then once the outline's built, then our writer guides you through our speak to write process, where we just on Zoom calls, we say, Ted, all right, let's talk about the importance of a good LinkedIn profile. What are some of the elements of a LinkedIn profile, Ted? And now we shut up and you talk because you're the expert. And we
Right.
do that for every chapter of your book. We're just guiding you through the process. And after about 7 or 8 calls, you have given us all of the content for your book.
Yeah.
And then our writer takes that and they do the writing, the massaging of your words into your book. We don't add content to your book because we're not the expert at LinkedIn or anything
Right.
else, right? We just write your words and make you sound great on paper so that it communicates in your voice and your tone and your message. We ensure that you've got control of the whole thing, but we just take all the headaches and all the pain out of writing a book.
That sounds wonderful.
It is. It is. Well, you and I have both written books, right? And it can be a labor of love, but it's really not the highest and best use of most people's time because we're communicators
Right.
and we can speak so much faster and better. And then let my writers who love to write craft it. And then we make you an Amazon best-selling author, and that's awesome. But the real magic honestly happens, Ted, when we say, now, how are you going to use your book to
Yeah.
gain clients? And you've done this for years. You know a lot of the systems and strategies. You've created your own, but I find a lot of business owners don't. They don't have a clue what to do with the book. And it's like, all right, let me teach you because that's where the magic happens. That's where the money's made. You might sell a few copies on Amazon, but not enough to pay the rent. I'm going to teach you how to use your book to land a great job, to get a new client, to get referrals, to build relationships on LinkedIn. What better
Right.
way to say, hey, here, get to know me. Get it. Here's a free copy of my book. Just read it. I'll
Yeah.
I'll check back in a week or so and see what you think. I'd love your honest feedback.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have to have an opt-in form. Heaven forbid.
Oh
That's
gosh.
blasphemy.
Here's my book.
Here's my book. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many ways to use a book for somebody who's, if you're transitioning, I talk with a lot of people who are transitioning from one career to the next,
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Maybe they've been laid off, downsized, or maybe they just get tired and they're looking for something else. Well, take a copy of your book. My book has about 30 little chapters in it. I could create little videos on each chapter and I could send it to them over a period of time to build that relationship. You never know what's going to capture somebody's heart. But just getting your thoughts out of your head into print and being an author will put you in a different category. As you know, people look at authors differently. They're perceived as experts. And
Even if it's a self-published book or a small publisher, they're like, wow, you wrote this?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, seriously, there are so many ways to do it. And I think that's one of the things that happens. Marketing happens in the mind. It's how people think about us.
Yeah.
And I think we all intuitively know that, putting a blog post out or a LinkedIn post is, pretty simple to do. Writing a book is challenging. In our mind, we just know there's a lot of steps to it. And that's why they respond that way. And that's why you have elevated credibility
Yeah.
when you've gone through the process to be an author, because the world knows it just has more rungs on the ladder to get the job done than something else.
Yeah.
Honestly, it happens in the mind.
Yeah. That's one thing I learned writing books. Like Amazon bestsellers, they sold a lot of copies.
Yeah.
But the way people perceived me is like, you're a LinkedIn expert. You're a Twitter expert. You wrote a book about it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. You wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
And in our culture, experts have books.
Yeah.
It's why Tony Robbins is who he is, and Dave Ramsey is who he is, and it's why you are who you are, and I am who I am. You
Right.
take our books away, I mean, we still have great content, but our book gives us a platform on which we can communicate, encourage more people, educate more people, help more people, because they see us as that, oh wow, you wrote the book. Maybe I should listen to this guy. Great, now you're in my world.
Yeah.
Now come out and hang out with me at LinkedIn or watch one of my webinars or check out one of my podcasts and get to know who I am. And when the day comes when you're ready to do business with me, I want to be the first one you think of and the one you feel the best about.
Yeah.
That's my objective in marketing. If you approach things like that, everything takes care of itself, whether you're marketing, whether you're looking for a new job, whether you're transitioning, whatever it is, it's from the heart. It really is.
That's why I like your process because it's person to person.
Yes.
I've been experimenting with writing a new book and I like, oh, we just AI this and see what I should write and lay out the chapters for me.
Yeah.
And it's like boring.
Boring. Yeah, it's just not going to be there yet. There may be a day when AI can do it all, but they're not going to get Ted. It
Right.
just isn't, you know?
Yeah. I
Um,
wrote a very technical book, but I used my personality explaining how I did it and from my perspective and my stories.
yes,
And then I had a lot of people I worked with that I said I showed their profiles. Like, this is why they did this way.
yes,
And people
yeah.
love that.
What they do, because you know what? I think people who are reading your book, they see themselves in those pages and examples.
Yeah.
They relate to it, and there's just something about AI and the way it flattens things and the way it just becomes general and commoditized your content. It just is not compelling. Maybe someday, I don't know. Um, but the process that you and I have gone through and that my clients have go through, it's cathartic at some level.
Yeah.
It's clarifying because they'll say something to one of my writers and they're like, oh, that's a great way to say that.
Yeah.
And they've never said it before because they haven't communicated like this with a professional. And so there are so many benefits of getting with somebody to talk it out per se and to create your book without writing a word, as we say. It's just that it's like LinkedIn. Actually, you're building a relationship. This time you're building it with a professional writer who's helping
Mhm.
you create your book. But on LinkedIn, you're just building relationships and connections.
Right.
Start there, and you it's amazing. Everybody on LinkedIn that I connect with knows about 30 or 40 people, pretty close. I mean, they all have 500 connections.
Right.
I don't need 500 connections. I need you to connect me with two or three other people who will connect me with two or three other people, and
Right.
so on, and so on, and so on. That's how you build a relationship, I think.
Yeah. I used to do that with my emails. I would do the boring emails. Go here, click here, go there, type this in, click here. And like
Yeah.
people actually responded to them, but once I started telling stories in my emails,
Yes.
that's crazy. It's like, oh
Well,
my
it
gosh.
is. People, yeah, because you and Tom and I mean, we all come from the same kind of background, but it's story. Why do we watch? Why do we go to the movies?
Right.
Stories, right? Why do we listen to podcasts or songs or albums? Stories.
Yeah.
And then we get into marketing. We're like, well, I got to have facts and figures, folks. I don't understand that.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody agrees with me, Ted. We all make decisions emotionally.
yeah.
And then we find logic to back it up. And everybody's like, yeah, 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 yeah. Then I go to your website or your LinkedIn and it's all logical.
Yeah.
That's illogical to me, you know.
We do business with each other because we know, like, and trust each other. You can't fake that.
You can't fake that. And what I tell people and is once you make that connection on LinkedIn, build the relationship with two or three or four conversations. And if you can, set a 15-minute Zoom with them.
Yeah.
No agenda. My agenda is get to know you and to share
Right.
my story. This is what I do. And this has been great, Ted. Let's do this again down the road.
Right.
How can I support you? Who can I connect you with? I mean, it's that kind of a stuff. It just feels so backwards because
Yeah.
we've been driven to sell. It's like,
And how
we're,
many times you've done a short call with someone just to get to know them, and all of a sudden they send you a referral.
yeah, all the time. Or I have somebody in my network that I think I can connect them with or say, Ted, you'd be a really good guest on Tom's podcast. Could I
Yeah.
connect you with Tom after this? That's all it takes. But it
Yeah.
takes just simplifying and in a sense, just taking the system we've learned and just flipping it upside down or just throwing it away and going, I'm just going to show up and be me. And
I have a
people are,
shocking thing to share with you.
what's that?
People did business with each other before the internet existed.
Was there a day? That's crazy.
How in the world did we do that?
Yeah. I remember Tommy Hopkins wrote a book called How to Master the Art of Selling. And in it, he had a picture of two guys' belly, like big old fat beer bellies, right, facing each other with belly buttons in it. STP was underneath of it. I'm like, what? And so you read the story. Somebody told him, he's like, Tom, the secret to selling is to STP. See 20 people belly to belly every day. And I thought, that's just brilliant. That's how we did it back then, is
Right.
we had real live conversations with 20 people every day. You can do the same thing using LinkedIn,
Right.
right? And make your connections real. I would rather make 20 real connections than 120 fake automated ones
I
that
shoot for one or two a day. That's more than enough.
it's that's totally more than enough. And you're a master at one of my marketing principles is consistency over time.
Yes.
This is not a short-term thing. This is a way of life. This is who Ted is, right? One or two a day. That's amazing. And that's if people hear that and just do that,
And then the
everything's
real
wonderful.
secret is you mail them a copy of your book with a handwritten note saying, "Thank you for the great conversation we had."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, yes, dude. Take it right out of
You-
my mouth. When was the last time you got a signed copy of a book with a handwritten note?
Right.
Dare I say probably never.
It takes like
And
10 minutes.
it's I don't have that kind of time in my life, you know. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, but it's personal. And now you're a household name. They will never throw that book away. And you know that. That's why you do it.
And
Right?
you're a
And
best-selling
it's
author for life. They can't take it away from you.
that's right. It's right there. And people like you and they'll remember you and they're like, yeah, that LinkedIn guy. What's it? Oh, there's this book right there. Oh yeah,
Right.
Ted.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. Just be real.
Yeah.
Be real. Be genuine and show up to serve and the sales will come, right?
People are looking for authenticity and honesty these days. And
In a big way. They really are.
yeah.
You hear it parroted a lot, but you don't see it a lot.
Yeah. It's really
And
easy to stand out from the crowd these days. Be honest
unfortunately,
and authentic. What a word. We should write a book about that.
we should, yeah. The ha-ha approach, honest and authentic. Yeah, that's great. It doesn't take much. It really doesn't. Because
Yeah.
again, I trust that you're an expert at what you do, or you wouldn't be around. But do I like you? Do I trust you? And that comes from what? Conversations,
Right.
relationship.
Am I willing to pull out my credit card and give it to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And if yeah, and that just comes with time. So but it's showing up every day, like you say,
Yeah.
making two connections, staying in contact, serving your audience, doing free things,
Right.
and realizing that it'll come back to me when you show
Yep.
up and serve. You'll have business. It will come,
Yeah.
but you got to keep at it.
Cool. Well, it's always great talking to you. I know you have to run. How can people get in touch with you and learn more?
Ted, the easiest way is paperbackexpert.com. That's our website. It's the center of all things Michael, all kinds of free resources there. You can understand what we do, connect with me on LinkedIn, obviously, and other platforms, but paperbackexpert.com.
Are you on TikTok?
I don't think we're on TikTok yet. Yeah, because we honestly, and it's funny you say that because everybody says you have to be everywhere. Our philosophy is we want to dominate one.
Right.
And so we're on LinkedIn and Facebook because we dominate one and we added the other. And right now that's it. And the everyone's like, well, you're not on Instagram. I might be there someday, but until I dominate these two, I don't need to be everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of focus. So no, not yet. I'm not on
That
TikTok.
is really good advice. Focus on one, get really good at it.
And never leave it.
Right.
Add to it, right?
Right.
Because you never want to leave your first love.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's great talking to you.
Always good to be with you, my friend. God bless.
Bye.